Right, how you doing, traders? I want to talk about trends today. So the top risers you have on your Football Index homepage, and I want to talk about how you can find an edge within the trend. Obviously, everyone has this information, so it's just about finding an edge yourself, so you can react quicker and or even make more money than a trader who doesn't do this. So yesterday we had an obvious trend. If we look at the top three risers, we've got Jamie Vardy, Son, and Llorente. Now, the obvious trend there, if you look into it, you'll see that Harry Kane was injured. You know, so his possible replacements for Spurs and of course for England, because England do have some friendlies coming up, and he also, he isn't confirmed whether he's going to be out for the World Cup yet. So that is the obvious trend. The obvious trend is of Harry Kane's injury. Now, the way we can find our edge within this trend is just by simply recording some details over and over again to get enough data so we can react in the best way. So if we look at what I recorded here, this is obviously injury or suspension and a rise of a possible player replacement. So that's the title of this journal entry, and there's obviously some Lacazette information, Jesus and Delph, but down the bottom here, I did start writing some bits about Kane. Now, what I wrote was the price of the injury, so what time price of the player was of the injury, and the peak price. Not to say that I got in at this price and got out at that price. This is just how far the rise happened. Okay, and I've also put Kane's drop to give a bit of perspective. Now, let's see here. So Son, he started at 178 from the injury, and he rose to £2.09. Vardy, 93p, and rose to £1.29. Llorente, 64p, rose to 82p. So we're seeing, minimum 18p rise, and you've got 30p on Son, all right, and you've got nearly 30p on, you've got nearly 30p on Vardy. Okay, so if we look at that from that perspective, you've got over 30p on Vardy. So if you look at the drop from Kane, obviously it was a lot bigger. It was over £1. But if you managed to get on all these players at the right time, you would have hedged what you would have lost on the drop on Kane and taken some profit here. And then ultimately, if Kane did rise to his potential again, because you don't know how bad the injury is, so if Kane did rise to his potential again, it's a fantastic trade because you've hedged against your drop, and also you're in a position where if the injury isn't too bad, Kane will rise anyway. If he's going to reach the World Cup, he will rise eventually. Okay, so the things you should look out for, the price rise. How much is the price rise? Obviously, you can get that on, the Football Index market. So if I go to here, increase. So we've got Son right at the top here. You can get this information on Football Index, but it's good to record it. So make sure you record it so you've got this data here. Now, the other information you should record and keep recording, keep getting the data, is what position they play. Now, Kane is a forward, and you usually do see a bigger rise with forwards. Now, from my data that I have before. But this is important because you ain't going to always get, a 30p price rise on a defender, which means that you won't be able to work out here your return of investment estimate. If you're going for that 10% on a forward, you might be doing yourself out of 15%. You might actually be able to get a regular 20-25% on a forward. Whereas with a defender, if then you have a 20-25% target, then if you don't have the data that tells you actually it doesn't really work like that, the rises on defenders ain't as big, then you can then lower your estimate to maybe 10%. and know that once that rise is sort of hitting or around 10%, you can exit for a profit. Whereas someone else might continue to wait for the rise, but you have the data to back it up that tells you actually defenders usually only rise about 10, 15p or 10 to 20%. You know, you will have this data here. Now, another good bit of information that will give you an edge is the average time between when the injury happens, which you should record. So I recorded it here, that Harry Kane got injured in the 34th minute. So between the injury and the time you exit, what was the price rise? Okay, and then what was the price rise after? So for example, if you exit the trade and you've made 15% from his injury to when you exit, and it's 15%, but then you see that actually the rise continues another 10% after your exit. So you can maybe, you know, and you have this happening 3, 4, 5 occasions, then you can actually raise your exit point, and you know that between the injury and your exit point can now be a little bit further away because the rise is bigger. So all this information will give you an edge. So I got on, let's do this. So Son, let's say I was to close this trade. So we've got all the information here, the earliest price that we got on him, the amount of shares. Now, again, like this is important information from what I was telling you about the time from injury to exit. And this is where it helps. So all you do here is just record the time, and this gives you the data you need. So that actually he got injured then, and I exited this time. So the time between injury and this time give me this much money, this much profit, this much percentage. Now, one trade is never going to tell you the whole story. But what I'm saying is if you continue to do this, if you make it part of your routine, you know, every trade. So the first thing you should do, if a player gets injured, entry, football index, entry. After that, record it. Record, you know, that you've entered, the time, the date, why, you know, what happened, what the trend was. And then when it gets to a point where you're thinking, all right, the trend is slowing down, exit, but then record it. And that should, if that's your routine, you know, after a while, say you've got, you know, 20, 30, 40 trades, you can actually go through your trades and you can say, well, the average time that I get to exit at the best price, being profit, is the average time is usually within an hour. After an hour, people start taking their profit. So you know that. So you can make sure you're out. If you intend to flip, you can make sure you're out before people are taking their profit. You know, it's the same thing. You will know what kind of target you'll need. You'll have. So if your average percentage growth is 15%, then that's a relevant target. You know, even if the top end is 20, the bottom end is 10, but the average is 15, you know that actually you can get a good 15% average out of this. So it's all about taking the right actions all the time. And if we go back to the, you know, journal here, okay, the price rise, again, price rise based on position. You know, once you've got a good sample size of forwards and what's the, you know, the average price rise on that position, you can then, what you'll see another pattern emerge, and that pattern will be what is the status of the team they play for. So for Harry Kane, for example, he plays for Spurs, big club, you know, top 6, but you might not see the same rise, so to speak, if Vardy got injured. You know, Kane as well, his status is as the #1 England striker. If Vardy got injured, it wouldn't affect Kane's price. You know, it would probably affect the third choice striker, maybe Rashford, maybe someone else. But this is, the status is obviously important. So if someone who plays for Burnley, defender who plays for Burnley, got injured, it's not going to have the same impact as a defender who plays for Manchester United. And this is the type of information that over and over again will give you that edge. So every time something happens in the market, you don't have to worry about it being volatile, because you are an opportunity to hedge yourself against what might happen in your favor. And that's where you know, the good traders, that's where they get their edges from, is by recording this and, you know, knowing the best actions to take. Because we all know football. We've all got good football knowledge, and we you know, we've seen ankle injuries before, and we can all make a pretty decent estimate that it was a bad injury and he might be out for so long. But in the market, that's different. You need this data to continue to tell you the story of what might happen. All right. So whatever trend you're looking at, obviously this was, you know, injury replacement, whatever trend, whether it's young players, you know, for example, if everyone's buying young players and you can see this trend, then again, you know, what position are people buying? Well, what clubs are they playing for? What links have they got to bigger clubs? What's the average age? You know, what people considering a young player? You know, and it might sound generic information, but if you collect this information, record this information, then you're going to get an edge over the person who doesn't. And it's only going to help you with decision making. All right, so that's what I wanted to go on about trends there. Like I said, that was obviously a trend that I spoke about because it happened last night. You know, so it was a good one to speak about. But any trend that you might see on this rising list, really look into it and see why. Why are they rising? Can I put them together? You know, the top 3 is usually the ones that I look at to spot a trend. But, you know, there's 5 here, so you can look at all 5. And if you can connect at least 2 of them, you know, then there's a trend there and there's something for you to look into. Because, you know, it's important to spot all trends when you're trying to make money consistently, or constantly, should I say, because then you're in a position to take advantage of the market all the time. Whereas, you know, it's fine if you've got 10, 15 strategies, but if they're all resolve around, for example, holding for buzz dividends, then you'll then begin to, by recording trends, you'll start seeing trends that will work in your favor because you hold for buzz. You know, and there's trends that will, like this injury trend was great for people who flip, because there was that opportunity for all these players to be flipped, you know, for that profit. All right, so thanks for listening for that. If you want to obviously have a look at recording, even if you don't use the website, pen and pad, Word, whatever, but just try it. You know, try and start recording, and it doesn't have to be a chore. You know, you see what I write in my journal. It's very generic. It's you know, it very much. I mean, look, Alexis Sanchez. You know, it's very much, you know, here, there, everywhere for you know, the player. I never ever write an essay at all. It's not really my style, but it works for me because in note format is how I take it in best. But yeah, give that a try. You know, we've gone through the top 3 risers. We've gone through Tom's tip of the day. We've gone through, you know, the trend list, and these are all information that is available to every Football Index user. It's just about finding an edge with this, and by recording the information and spotting patterns, then you'll do that. All right. So thanks for listening, and I will see you on the next video.